Joining the program this morning is this rhythm and blues artist, pioneer rock and roll singer, the legendary Gary U.S. Bonds. Gary, it's an honor to have you with me on KMET Radio.
Oh, it's great to be here, Kat. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Gary. Gary, you were born in Jacksonville, Florida, raised in Virginia. What are your earliest recollections of some of the very first songs you heard which struck an interest in music for you?
Well, the very first songs I heard was my mother played them, I guess. It was like Bull Moose Jackson and Ivory Joe Hunter. And in fact, that was the first concert she took me to in Norfolk, Virginia, way back in the day. And that's how I got interested when I looked up on stage and saw all these guys in their fancy suits and the lights flashing and the girls yelling and screaming at them. I went, that's what I want to do. I want to do that. And that's what I did.
And you did it very well. You began singing in front of a church audience in your earliest days of performing, correct?
Not exactly. No.
Okay.
Everybody wants to put me in that church. I wasn't in there. I was singing actually on the corner. You know, me and my guys, we had a group called the Turks. And we just sit out on the corner by the mailbox in front of Mr. Boone's Market and see if we could attract girls.
Now, how did the name U.S. Bonds come about?
That was given to me by my ex-manager, which is probably why he's my ex-manager. But Frank Guida, that was when we first started. He was trying to see a way that he could promote the record, and I think he decided that U.S., not Gary U.S. Bonds, but U.S. Bonds was very popular at that time, and so he went to just put that name in, and it caught on with the radio stations, you know, because they thought it was an advertisement for U.S. Bonds, and it was, but not for their U.S. Bonds.
Now. You've had a legendary career. Your first hit song was New Orleans, which hit number 6 in the United States. What do you remember most about the creation of that song, Gary?
That song was written by Joe Royster, which is a friend of Frank and ours. He was a guy that he worked at Hoffheimer's shoe store across the street from where Frankie's Birdland record shop was, and he wrote it. It was actually a country song, real country song, but I had to change it around because hey, the guys in my neighborhood wouldn't allow that, so I changed it around to an R&B, I guess you would call it that, or a pop song, by adding some things that were popular at the time. In fact, it was, what's his name? Heidi, Heidi, Heidi Ho guy, which is where I copied the Yeah, Hey, Yeah, Yeah from in order to make it a sing-along.
Well, it was very popular. I mean, it hit number 6 in the United States.
Yeah, it was great for me. It took a long time for it to get to number 6. It took a long time to get it on the radio because when it first came out, all of the DJs, not all of them, but most of them said that the sound was inferior. Until I took it to Dick Clark. And he played it on American Bandstand once, and that created the hit song. Anything that Dick Clark played back then, he could make it a hit immediately.
Oh,
and
no
that's
question.
what happened there. Thanks to Dick Clark, I am who I am.
Well, I tell you, after New Orleans, Gary, 2 more hits followed, Not Me and your biggest hit song, which went to number 1, Quarter to 3. Can you speak a little bit about creating both of those songs?
Well, Not Me was was a good follow-up, but it got banned, even though it sold about 900,000 copies in the first month that it was out. But it got banned on the radio because of what they called terrible lyrics, you know. They said something. In one of the lyrics, I said, "I'll punch you in your face," and They said, no, that was too violent. And then I said, come on over, baby, let's have some fun. They no, that was too sexual. So they took it off of the radio, and I'm glad they did because it sold more than it would have if it had stayed on.
Wow,
and then Quarter to Three, well, of course, was my number one song. You know, that was a good one. That was done because Daddy G had recorded a single called "A Night with Daddy G," instrumental, and it wasn't doing that well. So Frank Guida asked me if I could write some lyrics to it, and of course I went in the other room and scribbled down some stuff and came back and we recorded it. It took about 10 minutes altogether, and we got a hit out of that one. So I've been lucky in that respect.
Yeah, I mean, Quarter to Three sold 1 million records in '61, and it was number one for 2 weeks. I mean, you beating that Chubby Checker, Let's Twist Again. You must be very proud of that, huh?
Yeah, I am. Even though I thought it was a very weak record, but I'm proud of it. So far, I haven't picked a winner yet. So don't personally ask me to pick a number one song for you. I'll get the hit side, the flip side every time.
We're talking to the legendary Gary U.S. Bonds. Gary, take me back, if you can, to '61. You were arguably the number one soloist of that time. Did you have, if you remember, did you have a lot of envy, jealous rivals in the business at that time?
I don't believe so. You know, I mean, even though I think Guida wanted to make it that way, but no, in fact, I didn't even come out. When New Orleans came out, and not me, I didn't go on the road. They didn't want me on the road, mainly because the record was selling and playing on pop stations. And if I'd gone on the road and they found out I was black, it would have just only been on the R&B stations, which would have sold less records. So for 2 years, I didn't go out. It was way into Quarter to Three. It was almost number one before I even had a picture taken out there. So I kind of stayed away. So I didn't have any enemies because nobody knew who I was.
Well, there were so many great artists during that decade of the '60s, Elvis, Sinatra, etc. Did you have any friendly ties with either Elvis or Sinatra?
I met Elvis. I didn't get a chance to meet Sinatra, even though I admired his work. But I did get a chance to see Elvis when I went out with Dick Clark to the, I think it was Flamingo Hotel back then, which is no longer there, in Las Vegas, and for the Dick Clark show. And then Elvis sent a limo down to pick me up, to take me back to his hotel so that he could get a chance to sit down with me and talk. And that was a very interesting day. We sat there and just talked man talk for about 2 or 3 hours, and till I had to get back. And then I went back. He invited me back to his show later on that night, and I did that. And I tell you, it was probably still one of the greatest shows I've ever seen in my lifetime. He was such a fun guy, and such a really, really cool guy.
Man, so that's interesting. The king of rock and roll admired you, huh?
Well, yeah, that is. When you put it that way, that's kind of nice.
So now, let me ask you, what was your view at that time on the music style that Elvis brought to the stage? You know, the wiggling of his hips, because that was controversial for that era. Did you have any thoughts on that?
No, I've never been a nice hip wiggler. I can't get around. I'll trip over my own foot, you know, and I surely would trip over my own hip if I had one to move around like that. But no, that was his style, and that was good for him. I wasn't a James Brown or Joe Tex or none of those guys. I just kind of stood there and sang, and every now and then I'd move, and they were, wow, what a great dancer. And I figured, well, that'll work for me.
Now, I also read that the great Bruce Springsteen is a big fan of yours, huh?
Yeah, that's what he says, you know. But we got a chance to do some things together. Of course, he got clients came from my hometown down there in Norfolk. You know,
Wow.
he's in Chesapeake. Same thing. So I think Clarence had told him a lot about me, and Bruce used to work down in that area a lot too.
Oh, he did.
So he got a chance to hear me a lot down there.
Well, I saw on YouTube a great performance that you were performing with Springsteen, huh? So that must have been fun.
Oh yeah, we did a few of those things together. You know, he used to like to invite me over to those monster concerts that he had, and it was fun. You know, he's always good and gracious and talented. So it was fun to be with him. It always is.
We're talking to the legendary Gary U.S. Bonds. Gary, reviewing your career, to me, you've made major musical impact on the 5 decades. 2 albums in 61 and 62, one hit gold, a quarter to 3. 1972, She's All I Got was nominated for Country Music Association Song of the Year. 3 studio albums created in the 1980s. In 1996, Nothing Left to Lose, an album in 2000s which you created with Springsteen and Seaside Johnny. So, I mean, you've definitely made an impact on each decade. What do you plan to do next?
Oh my God, I don't know. Well, right now we're working on what they call, we laughingly refer to as a roots album. I want to do some songs that I used to do back in the day, and songs that I remember from I guess in the 50s and 60s and stuff. Not basically doo-wops, but a lot of songs that created other songs and to this day and age. And we're going to do them now. I'm trying to work with a guy. I don't know if you remember his name is Russ Titleman, and he's done some things for Steve Winwood and Eric Clapton and Chaka Khan, and he's got a lot of hits out of him, you know. So hopefully he can get another hit out of me.
Now, Gary, you also made a guest appearance in Blues Brothers in 2000, right?
Yeah, that was cool.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, actually, I was on my way home from a gig, and I passed by. What's his name? I forgot his name already. Oh my God! He used to be the band leader with Letterman.
Oh, Schaefer, Paul Schaefer.
Paul Schaefer, yeah. I passed Paul Schaefer in the hallway at the airport, and I said, "Hey, Paul, where you going?" He says, I got to go up to Toronto. We're doing a film, so I'll see you when I call you when I get back. I went, okay. And then he said, by the way, what are you doing next week? And I went, basically nothing. He said, I want to give you a call. And sure enough, he called me and said, look, the guys want you to come up and film with us. And that was the beginning of the Blues Brothers 2000. And I went in Toronto, and we did that. And the greatest thing was we did New Orleans, and everybody on the set sang it. I mean, from Aretha Franklin, James Brown, everybody. Sam and Dave, Sam at least. And Lou Rawls, and everybody sang that one song. I've never heard that. I'm so proud of that, and they all loved it.
Now, another one of your accomplishments, you were inducted into the Long Island Music Hall of Fame. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, they inducted me. I think I was one of the first ones that they did. And a year or two later, they had another one, and they inducted me again. I went, you guys forgot? What happened? So I've been in the Long Island Hall of Fame twice now, I think.
And in 1997, you were honoree of the Rhythm and Blues Foundation, huh?
Oh, yeah, that was cool.
That's pretty cool. Now,
Yeah, Bonnie Raitt and all the guys were there. That was very good. A lot of my contemporaries.
Now, what do you think of all this memorabilia craze? Because I know you were a honorary signer at the East Coast Sports Collectors National Convention. What do you think of this memorabilia business, this memorabilia craze?
Hey, that was pretty cool. I mean, I'd done those twice, I think, before, but years and years and years ago. And I'd forgotten about it. And it is so nice because then I get a chance to see some of my heroes, and I mean, back in the day, I was down there with Roy Campanella. I was down there with Yogi Berra, of course, and Hank Aaron, who, when he first started out, I was a little kid. We used to throw balls at me when we were down in Jacksonville, Florida, when he first started. So I got a chance to see and talk to him again. And it's nice. I can get out there and see my heroes, and football and golf and basketball and baseball. And those are fun things to do.
Now, let me ask you, Gary, the best concert you ever performed in and why?
Well, let's see. The best concert. We were in California. And this had to be 20 years ago. And who was on that? Oh man, it was Springsteen was on this show. Fleetwood Mac, everybody was on this doggone show out in California. And something about peace or something about war or something like that. And it was on my birthday, and there's 1 million people in the audience, 1 million people. And Bruce got them to sing Happy Birthday to me. Have you ever had anybody sing Happy Birthday to you by the millions? It's a great thing.
So how was that feeling like, huh? That was incredible, huh?
Oh, yeah, that was fantastic, I just so glad I didn't have to blow out 1 million candles.
Gary, let me ask you, growing up, which other bands or artists did you admire?
Oh, I loved, back then Sam Cooke was one of my favorites. Jackie Wilson, who I tried to emulate, was very, very cool. I used to listen to, of course, the Drifters and the Coasters and those kind of things. And in the girl groups, of course, with the Shirelles and Chiffons and all. I had so many people that I loved, as a kid. That's all you had to do back down in Virginia was sit around and listen to WRAP, Jack Holmes, Daddy Jack, and listen to all the music he played and all the new stuff that came through Norfolk. By being a neighbor town, they used to try out all the new songs in that area. And it was great because we get to hear it first, even before they got to New York or Chicago or California, We got to hear it in little old Norfolk and make suggestions.
So you were saying, Gary, Frank Guida, so you guys had a fallout? Is that what happened? How long was he your manager?
Oh, yeah, Frank Guida?
Frank Guida.
Yeah, we had a little fallout, and I don't know what it was called then, but no, he wanted me to do certain songs, and I thought I'd had enough of that, enough of these gimmicky songs. I wanted to get into the real part of it. I wanted to be like a Sam Cooke or Jackie Wilson. I wanted to get in to do some real songs, and he didn't want to go that way, so we didn't see eye to eye.
So after Frank Guida, who was your next agent or manager?
Oh my God, I don't know. I haven't had good luck with agents and managers. I don't even know who was. I can't even think of who that was now. But they were probably a crook.
So after Frank Guida, you said no more. You're your own man. You have your own identity. You're going to do things on your own.
Yeah, I've been doing it on my own. I like it that way.
Yeah, I mean that's the best way. I mean you have no pressure coming from right behind you, and you already have your brand name, huh?
Yeah, I already had it. You know, that's already there. They can't change that. You know, even though I wanted to change it, but after I got the first check, I went, U.S. Bonds. That's not a bad name. So I figured I'd just keep that one.
Now, let me ask you: do you have a website that fans can go on if they want to purchase Gary U.S. Bond memorabilia?
Yeah, it's very easy. It's GaryUSBonds.com.
And that's it. And if someone wants like an autographed photo, they can email you, and they can pay an amount.
Yeah,
and you'll send it off to
email
them?
me at glamusic@aol.com. And I'll get her to you.
Well, so listen, it's an honor to have you. We're going to play a little bit of your music, a couple of minutes of your songs, okay?
You bet, my friend. Thank you so much, Brian.
Thank you so much. Honor, sir. Sean, if you got some Gary U.S. Bonds, can you play a couple of minutes, please?
You don't know how to twist? Well, let me tell you. Well, now there's a new dance that's known as the twist. It's really not new. It's something to twist. Well, there's a new dance that's known as the twist. It's really not new. It's something to twist. Dear lady, get up from your chair. Dear lady, get up from your chair. Well, now, 'cause doctors agree, so I've been told, do the twist and you'll never break. 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't you know that I dance till the water the tree. Already had that night with Daddy G. He was swinging on the sax with the girls. 7-day weekend. 7-day weekend. Well, I wish that I could have myself a 7-day weekend. Tired of sitting on the shelf until the weekend. Friday after school, I pick my baby up. We dance and party till Sunday night. That's the only time I get to hold my baby tight. I wish that there could be a 7-day weekend. I'm gonna make a plea. I said, hey, 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 yeah. I said, hey, hey, yeah. Well, come on, everybody, take a trip with me. Well, down the Mississippi, down to New Orleans. They got the honeysuckle blooming on the honeysuckle line. And the roses are blooming there all the time. You know, every southern
Gary, that's some great stuff there.
Oh, yeah, oldies but goodies.
Oh, that's some great stuff. I mean, just the music that you co-wrote, School is Out, School is In, Dear Lady, Twist, Sonora, 7-Day Weekend. Forget about it. You're legendary.
Well, thank you so much, Brian.
Oh, that's beautiful stuff. Hey, they don't make music anymore like that, Gary. What do you think of today's music, Gary? Do you have any opinions on that?
Well, I like most of it. I mean, there's some that's a little extraordinarily different. So, insofar as how they word it, is that the right way to say it? Some of the language is a little harsh, but most of it is pretty good. I mean, I love my little buddy Bruno Mars. I think he's great.
Yeah,
and there's a bunch of guys like that.
I don't know. I feel that today's music, a lot of it is very like whiny. They don't have that energy like that you brought out, and Jackie Wilson. They don't have that energy, that spunk.
Yeah, it's not. It's not as fun anymore. I don't know. It may be a little bit too set up. You know, we didn't have everything. We didn't work on songs. We went out there and we just did what we had to do, you know, and had fun with it, you know, because we only had like 2 tracks. We didn't have 200 tracks like they got now. So when you made a mistake, you did it over again. Now you can just, you know, patch up everything, and I think that it loses a spark that way.
No, I agree. Well, I have a few seconds left. Gary, let's do it again in the future, okay?
I certainly hope so, Brian, anytime.
Great
Call
stuff,
me, I'll
Gary.
get my coffee and toast, and we'll talk.
Definitely. Great stuff. You're the best.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Take care.
You bet.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Folks, that was the legendary Gary U.S. Bonds. Great stuff. Thank you so much for joining the program, Gary. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Until next week, happy collecting to all.